What is up, everybody? It's your boy Blade Daily, and stoked to be here with you this afternoon. Yes, we have a really cool show lined up, but it's just you and me, dogs. It's just you, and it's just me, and we're gonna make this a family. Gonna do the standard 10 minutes bullshitting to get us warmed up here while other people might be showing up. Too Fat to Cook back in the chat. The Scare Glow was so stoked for this show that they commented on it 35 minutes before it even started. That's what we're doing here. That's what we're creating here. Okay. It's nice. And Bo Borchard in the chat. What up, dude? What up? One thing that we can just get out of the way to start is, did you know we have merch? Because we do. And you can buy it at sickosclub.com/shop. I am wearing a Sit Down, Shut Up shirt that's in the store right now. You are welcome to go peruse at your leisure. Fuck your mama 2 times in the chat. Yes, going solo today. But let's put that up there. Fuck your mama 2 times. Yeah, we're going solo today. And I'm watching CMLL tonight, so I'm not going to be able to spend my customary hours and hours and hours editing this episode. So I'm just going to leave all the chatter and all the chat in the show, in the final cut. I'll try not to do anything too visual so that the podcast won't disenfranchise audio-only listeners. But yeah, it's just us today, baby. It's just us. So how you all been? What's going on? You guys excited? Skewered Universe podcast in the chat. What up? Hola, amigo. Yes. Hola, amigo. Yeah. No, I'm stoked for the CMLL show tonight. It's like an all women show. You got Olympia and Megan Bain going at it. That's going to just be like big buff ladies kicking each other's ass. You got Mercedes and Persephone, which I think is going to fucking rule. So much going on in CMLL tonight. Yes, fuck you, mama 2 times. CMLL is the all women's card. I think Eve also had a show earlier today. I mean, it would have been tonight in the UK, but Eve, the all women's promotion in the UK, I believe, also had a show. So great night for women's wrestling. Big night for women's wrestling. Stewart has a prediction. Mercedes is losing tonight. We have to push that downward spiral of hers further. Yeah, I think so. I think Mercedes is definitely going to drop this to Persephone. And, that's great because Persephone needs the rub and she's a dual contract signing, So that there's no losing here, So, it's really Mercedes dropping the title to a contracted talent that you already have. That was a very smart move by Tony Khan. I was saying to Kaylee Metz, who you see in the chat sometimes last night, we were talking about Ring of Honor. And I was saying, it's a really good thing that they signed Persephone, because if they didn't, I think they would have come after. I think, WWE probably would have come after her pretty hard to get her in the in NXT probably. It just seems like kind of a natural fit there, that they would have seen it that way anyway. So I also think Persephone could be the one, if I was doing it my way, after that last Ring of Honor special, I would love to see Persephone take the Ring of Honor women's title from Athena. I think she could be the one. I think the goal has always been for Billy Starks to be that. And I'm just not sure I can see her doing that. That's what it's always felt like. They've had 2 main events on special events, and I just don't see Billy quite there yet. It's nothing against her. It's just, I don't think she's quite ready for that level of elevation. And Athena's so fucking good. But that match Persephone and Athena had was incredible. And I wanted by the end, I really was starting to bite. I really thought Persephone might actually take it, which is good storytelling. They made me believe, right? Ooh, fuck your mama 2 times. This is a spicy take. I think Shuri will be the one to take it off Athena. I would love that. I would love that. I think they're probably going to end up having a rematch and trading wins myself. But hey, look, Shuri is awesome. Awesome. That match, they had a new beginning, which we'll be talking about on the show, was absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Anything you guys want to talk about specifically, throw it in the chat throughout the show. I'll be kind of coming to you guys as we go along. Could be cool. Yeah, dual champ, too fat to cook. Dual champ, I'll allow it. You know, there's so many dual champs in the Tony Conosphere, in the Conosphere, yes. That I think, you know, they got to be careful with that because there is so many of them. And, you know, obviously Shuri would be a double champ with a belt outside of the promotion. She'd be a triple champ, actually, because she is the New Japan Strong Champion. She's the IWGP Women's Champion, and she would be the Ring of Honor Champion. But fuck, it would be cool. It would be real cool. I am such a huge fan of Shuri. I want to see more Stardom talent in AEW, period. You know, I've been waiting for them to kind of exploit that connection a little more. And it seems like mostly it's kind of gone one way, where a lot of the AEW talent has gone over there. And we don't get a lot of appearances from the Stardom talent. And I would like a lot more. And Shuri's like number one on the list for me as far as people they should send over. I also want to see Saya Kamatani in an AEW ring wrestling one of the top ladies. You know, it'd be awesome to see her versus Toni Storm. Awesome to see her versus Athena. Awesome to see her versus Mercedes. Saya Kamatani, if she ever comes due, they have to sign Saya Kamatani. I am such a big believer in her. She's absolutely incredible. The Scareglow. Good question here. Have you ever been to Arena Mexico? My wife and I are starting to research going. I have not. I've never even been to Mexico before, but Arena Mexico is like a must. I need to go to the Tokyo Dome and see a Wrestle Kingdom, and I need to go to Arena Mexico, the Cathedral of Professional Wrestling. I need that. I absolutely have to do that. It's a major bucket list thing for me. And yes, I will plan a vacation around wrestling. That is absolutely something I will do. Let's see. We got in the chat here. In it, Bab. What up, buddy? Comrade Khan appreciates dual champs always. Yes, he does. He really is leaning into the dual champ thing. You know, in some ways, it doesn't really matter. And in other ways, there's an instance of it that I thought kind of mattered this week, just because it was a bit of a bummer on some other fronts. But we'll get that. We'll get there. Yeah. So yes, one day, I and whomever so might join me, we'll be going to Arena Mexico to see CMLL, baby. So yeah. All right. Well, I think that we are getting to the point where we can start this fucking thing, huh? You guys feel ready? You guys feel ready for sit down, shut up, mark out? Because I am. I've been marking out all fucking week, and I'm about to mark out some more tonight. So let's do this. Hello, everybody. It's your boy, Blade Daily, coming at you with a pro wrestling podcast about pro wrestling. And I'm coming to you with me and myself, because I forgot to book anybody for today until I tried yesterday to get Books to come back, and Books actually has something going on. Can you imagine that? Having a life, having like a life beyond this podcast. I cannot. And the people who are close to me can tell you I do not. Okay. So we hang when we hang. So I hang for reals. So yes, I am with you. I want to talk to you all about what's going on in professional wrestling. I have an awesome group with me tonight, tonight, whenever you're listening to this. We are going to be doing this as a live stream that we convert to a podcast rather than a podcast that starts as a live stream. Also, just want to give a special shout out to the visual viewers. I got a background tonight. You may look a little familiar, but this was drawn by none other than Professor Degree. We have a new Sit Down, Shut Up logo coming your way fairly soon. And, the show, the initials of the show are SD Sumo. And we wanted to make the most of that connection. So we got a new logo in the works. It'll be out fairly soon. I'm going to be working on it this weekend. I hope you guys like it a lot. I hope you like it a lot. So lots going on. And one thing that's really going on, it's going on so hard. It's really going on, is the Sickies. Okay. So y'all might or might not know that I'm a co-founder of Sickos Club. I host Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out, and I'm a co-founder of Sickos Club. You can go to sickosclub.com and find out all about it. But on our socials, the past 2 weeks, we have been posting our nominees for the Sickie Awards. The voting is happening on the Sickos Club Instagram, the Sickos Club Blue Sky, and the Sickos Club Threads. Please make sure you're following us on whatever of those channels you use. And if you haven't already, get over there and vote. Half the awards have been voted on, and half are still open for the next week, including the most prestigious Sickie of them all. It's called the Kenny, and the award is for your favorite wrestler to watch for any reason. Like, do they have the best gimmick and you just enjoy their character work? Are they like Kenny Omega, who we named the award after? Is it that? Is it something in between? Is it Tony Storm? Is it Saya Kamatani is one of the nominees? We have a lot of good stuff over there. We want to hear from you, so make sure you get in there, get into the comments on each post and vote. Award voting is going to start expiring this Monday, and all voting is going to end by Friday, March 13th. So get over there once again on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. Make sure you get over there and make yourself heard, okay? We will have a lavish, ridiculous, and absolutely unhinged, moronic, overproduced presentation hosted by me and Professor Degree on the Sickos Club YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe. If you're over there on the Sickos Club, it's just Sickos Club, all one word, on YouTube. Make sure you're following that channel. Make sure you subscribe to that channel. Make sure you're subscribed to the Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out YouTube channel as well, if you're not already. Okay, so that's the house business. All right, we got some stuff going, but I did want to take a minute to say yesterday was my birthday, and I turned 46 years old. What the fuck? How is this happening? I don't like it, but I'm all right with that, actually. I want to just quickly say thank you to everyone here with me right now in the chat, and thank you to everyone who's been listening to us do this podcast rather, for the last almost 2 years. Okay. We started reviewing the very first Dynasty show, and that was our very first episode. And it's been incredible in a space as saturated as the wrestling space is for podcasts, that we've somehow managed to cut through a little bit and find an audience. We would simply not have as much passion for this as we do if not for you all. And thank you very, very much. You get a little older. I'm starting to become that old man who cries a little bit for no reason sometimes. So just wanted to say thank you. And most particularly of all, I want to throw a shout out to Joshi G. Joshi G, my co-host, who is currently out on maternity leave with Joshi B, is running her life right now. But we have been talking lately through direct messages, and just huge shout out to Joshi G. Joshi, you are so amazing. You are such a great friend to me, and one of my absolute favorite people to talk to about literally anything, but most certainly about pro wrestling. Last thing before we get started, this is officially the 98th episode of Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out. Number 100 drops in 2 weeks. What should we do to commemorate the milestone? We got to do something, okay? 100 episodes, that's it's not like it's everything, but it's not nothing, is what I'll say. It's something. It's something. How should we commemorate? I want to hear what you guys think. We can have a blast with it. We can be as goofy as we want, and the worst that's going to happen is I'm just going to say no. So let's see what we got from the community before I plunge in here. Professor Degree is bald community strong, therefore a great guy plus great artwork. I agree with you on the great artwork part, for sure. Skewer Universe makes a great point. If you missed the Sickies Awards presentation, you suck. Guys, don't suck. It sucks to suck. I've heard that many times. And thank you all for the birthday wishes. Yes, Skewer Universe, we do love Joshi G. She is a fantastic human being. She's in the process of becoming an excellent mother, and I'm so proud of her. So Cook suggests that I bleed, probably to Blade, because my name is Blade Daily. That makes sense. I mean, I'm not saying no. I'm saying we might get banned from YouTube. We might get banned, but I'm not saying no. So, yeah. And as it happens, episode 100 will be a combined episode with Professor Degree and myself. We do this after every pay-per-view. And we're going to have Kayfabe K is going to join us on the show to give us a live firsthand accounting of what it's like to be in the arena at Revolution. So that's going to be in 2 episodes. So it's really not 2 weeks. It's just 10 days or so. So the day after Revolution, we will tape it. And then on Tuesday morning, you'll have it in your feeds. But you can just join us in the chat, babies. You can just join us in the chat. Okay, but speaking of chat, it's time to stop chitter-chattering with y'all and start talking some pro fucking wrestling. And what better way to start talking about pro wrestling than talking about Strong Style, the king of pro wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and their card New Beginning USA that aired just 1 week ago as we tape this, as the crow flies. I actually don't know what that phrase means, as the crow flies, but they put on a show in New Jersey, and it was a very good show. I love New Japan Pro Wrestling. I love that even with all the craziness of their roster, all the turnover and all the insanity of ICE and the U.S. government, they still make the effort to come here even with all of that happening. But I have 2 issues with New Japan Pro Wrestling when they do U.S. shows. I make mention of AEW having too many men's singles titles a lot, but New Japan is the most egregious of any promotion, okay? They have more titles than literally anyone else, and I don't necessarily see the point of a lot of them, and especially at this current moment in time. Like, what is important about the strong titles? New Japan, they used to be in America a lot. The strong titles were kind of for that purpose. They had the show New Japan Strong, and now they don't. And they're in the USA less. And I just don't really get it because they, like, for good example, they have the strong tag team titles, which gives them a grand total of 3 sets of tag titles in one promotion. Okay. This isn't an ROH AEW kind of thing. They're like spread out over, they're not spread out over 2 promotions. They are spread out over 1 promotion. And so you have the New Japan World Tag Team titles. You have the New Japan Strong Tag Team titles, and you have the New Japan Light Heavyweight Tag Team titles. Feels like a lot of tag titles, does it not? So, that's. Am I being too anal? What do you guys think? Am I getting all worked up about nothing? Let me know in the chat. It's okay to tell me to be real with me. Blade, you got a problem? All right. The other complaint I have, and this is probably a more important complaint, and it's not a complaint like, oh, I hate this. It's in the best interest of New Japan. Okay. The lighting for New Japan in America shows is absolutely terrible. Okay. Like, it's old Ring of Honor bad. Like, that was a huge issue for so long. And I'm sure they have budget constraints for these shows, but I really wish they would find a different place to cut the fat in the budget, because the on-screen presentation of these shows, many of which have to be purchased separately from just a New Japan World subscription, it just has to be as good as it possibly can. And it just wasn't on this show. It looked very dark. You couldn't see the inside of the building very well. If they want it to be dark, that's fine. But this looked less than 1280 by 720. It just wasn't a crisp picture. It may sound mean, but it's true. You guys you got to invest in that a little more. So, it is what it is. But yeah, you guys tell me, am I overreacting to these things, or should I shut up? Whatever. So let's talk about the show a little bit. David Finlay defeated Fred Rosser in the first match of the show. And after the match, it's very evident to me. It was at the time I was watching with Kayfabe K, and I said to her, he's leaving for sure. Like, he's leaving. And the way he left the ring definitely felt like an imminent departure. They were saying, thank you, Finlay, or something like that. He grabbed a mic like he was going to talk, and then he dropped the mic to be a dick, to be a heel. I get it. And then he walked out, And so, we've been seeing Clark Connors and Gabe Kidd in AEW, and we will talk more about where David Finlay ended up in just a minute. But it was very clear to me that this was the end of David Finlay in New Japan as a full-time performer at the very least. It was a solid match, though. Fred Rosser is a great wrestler. David Finlay is a great wrestler. Not always my favorite character, but a great wrestler. So, of course, they had a good match. And nice that David was able to go out strong. You know what I mean? Next match was Boltin Oleg versus Ishii to win. Boltin Oleg pins Ishii to win the strong heavyweight title. This was a great match. Surprise, Ishii has a great match. If you still have hope for this title, for the strong title, matches like these will go a long way. However, the announcers did make sure to point out that the title had only been defended once by Ishii the whole time he had it, and it was almost a year ago. So probably need to correct that a little bit. Oleg himself, Boltin Oleg, is a great worker. I think he's fantastic. And he probably doesn't need to worry too much about New Japan's perception of his character. I personally would just love to see him with more of a gimmick or just some more personality. Not everybody's a natural at that kind of thing. And certainly his matches more than make up for it. But right now his character is literally like, I'm a giant man from Kazakhstan. Look at my fur hat. You know what I mean? So something to think about. But yes, it would do them some good, I think, to invest a little more in Oleg and defining who this guy is a little more. Next match was Ricochet versus Taiji Ishimori to defend the AEW national title. Talk about a match I hadn't even had time to consider dreaming of. This is one of those matches, okay? I mean, if you had told me, like, yeah, Ricochet versus Taiji Ishimori, I would have been like, oh, yeah, that's a great match. 2 years ago, I would have said it'll never happen. And now here we are getting it, I loved seeing the national title being defended here. I love that it's being defended in New Japan, but also still in America. So the national title thing kind of makes more sense. This was a very, very good match. And I cannot believe Ishimori moved so well for a guy he's 43 years old. Like, that's crazy. This guy must do like a ton of yoga. Okay. Crazy. Okay. Nuclear Vessels X, my buddy Bo, does agree that it's pretty amateur to have the lighting not look so good on screen. The on-screen presentation's where it's at, baby. That's what matters. And so you got to cater to that, and they got to invest in that. The next match, El Desperado and Kushida defeated Alec Price and Jordan Oliver, a.k.a. Busta in the Brain. Funny tag team name. I like it. And this was a fun match. I loved everybody involved. I was still a big Kushida fan. Major El Desperado fan. Alec Price is a guy I knew nothing about, and I saw some promos he cut in GCW. This guy can talk. Like, when he gets the chance to in AEW and he talks, he's about the same age as MJF. And when he gets the chance to really talk, you guys are going to do some double takes if you haven't heard it already, because he is really good. And Jordan Oliver was Nick Wayne's tag team partner on the Indies for a long time before Price and Oliver just came together. I believe Alec Price took a pin in this one or tapped out. I can't remember which. It was a week ago. But it was a good showcase for them, and they were given a lot in the loss. They just need more exposure. They just need to get out there more. I think they're a great fit for Ring of Honor right now. What do you guys think? Have you seen Alec Price and Jordan Oliver outside of AEW? And if you have, what'd you think of them? And where do you think they belong on the roster right now? The next match, though, was my match of the night. And surprise, surprise, Konosuke Takeshita was in this match. Holy shit, Konosuke Takeshita pinned El Phantasmo to win the New Japan Pro Wrestling World title. Now, that is a misleading title. It's the NJPW World title, which is a cute name, okay, because it's a TV title, but they're not on TV in America, so they call it the NJPW World title, which I think is cute because TNA has a digital media title, which I think is fucking stupid. That's the dumbest name for a title ever that I could think of. I'm sure there's been worse, but still, real bad. This was, like I said, I thought this was the match of the night. These two have great chemistry. They were 1-1. Takeshita has beaten El Phantasmo. El Phantasmo has beaten Takeshita once. And they wrestled to a 15-minute draw. And what I like about this title is it's defended under the same rules that a standard TV title would be. It has a time limit. Tie goes to the winner typically when you're the TV champ. So they go to a draw, and the crowd's pretty upset. And I think it's like okay. I mean, I guess it's maybe means more to have El Phantasmo be the NJPW World Champion right now. Okay, but at least Takeshita didn't lose. And then El Phantasmo waits for Takeshita to get all the way down the goddamn ramp, like he's ready to leave. And El Phantasmo says, "Hey, we just went to a draw and it sucked. And I just saw you and Moxley go to a draw and that sucked. And I don't want this to suck. Give me 5 more minutes." I thought this was a very interesting wrinkle. Okay. And Takesha's like, all right. He storms back down to the ring. They have a little exchange, probably for a minute, maybe 2. And Takesha fucking knees him in the goddamn face and then fucking hits him with the finish with the, why can I never remember the name of this move? What guys, tell me what Konosuke Takesha's finisher is called. The Raging Fire. The Raging Fire. There we go. Hits it and pins fucking Phantasmo. And that's really cool. I liked also as well, Talk winning because of Phantasmo's hubris. Phantasmo could have walked away, but he was like, no, I won't. We got to fight. And then he loses. So these two just have awesome chemistry with each other. I've enjoyed every time I've ever seen them in a match together. There was Phantasmo wrestled on a Forbidden Door where him and Takeshita were on opposing sides and got put through a table with a blue thunder bomb that I still remember to this day because it looks so good. My question for y'all, maybe you don't even care about this, okay? But Takeshita was just the IWGP World Champion at Wrestle Kingdom in the main event. I mean, not really because Okada and Tanahashi main evented, but is becoming the New Japan World Champion right after that too much of a downgrade? It's not the most beautiful belt in the world, but I'm just like, how do you see this title? Do you see it as being like a nice step for Takeshita, or is this a bit too much of a downgrade? I don't care that much about this title personally, so I don't have a super strong opinion about it, but the thought occurred to me. So I thought I might ask you all. So the KO brothers defeated the Gates of Agony and retained the New Japan World Tag Titles. Oscar and what's his name? Muto Ice. I think that's his name. Yes. These guys are awesome. I fucking love them. New Japan during the 2010s had an incredible tag team scene. They had the War Raiders. They had the Young Bucks. They had Golden Lovers. They had so much going on in the tag ranks. They had Gallows and Anderson, and once that fell apart, they had GOD as well. And once all that fell apart, they just kind of never recovered from it. And their tag scene has been very stagnant, I would say, for a long time. A lot of the people in the tag scene are just people carrying like a team that got put together in order to have a tag team title reign. And I like a tag division that feels intentional. And these guys make it feel very intentional. It was a great match. These teams line up super well. Everybody got to emphasize the things that are uniquely cool about them. Yuto Ice, sorry, Nuclear. The Nuclear Vessel X. Thank you. It's Yuto Ice, not Muto Ice. What the fuck? But yes, it was a really, really good match. Toa Leona got to murk some motherfuckers. Oscar got to use that crazy height that he has. This guy's 6'8", and he looks like a 13-year-old in the face, which is weird, but he does. He looks like a 6'8", 13-year-old. And Bishop Khan is just so good. And I hate the unfortunate thing for the Gates of Agony is that Toa is always pushed as kind of this immovable monster. And so unfortunately, that means when they lose, Bishop Khan is the one always taking the pin. This guy could be a solo wrestler if he wanted to be. Like Bishop Khan has a great look. He's a good looking motherfucker. Okay. And I want to see the Gates of Agony get a big push in AEW. It feels like they're kind of moving in that direction. So I'm not going to complain about how they're used or anything. I just want to see them be taken more seriously as a tag team because they're ready. I really think they're ready. If I was running a promotion and I had these guys, they would be my road warriors, basically. They would be the no-selling, beat-down motherfuckers. But I didn't think the outcome of this match was ever going to be in any doubt, but I still feel that Gates of Agony have huge things ahead, and I hope AEW pulls the trigger with them sooner than later. Then we had the match. We had the match I was most excited for. It was Shuri and Athena. Now, I'm just going to say it. This was a very good match. But these are not very good wrestlers. These are elite level wrestlers, and I think they have a better one in them down the road. There was nothing bad about it. It wasn't a bad match. But these are two of the very best in the world, male or female. And I really think that there will be a rematch at some point, possibly for the Ring of Honor title. Maybe Shuri takes it off of her, as was predicted earlier in the chat. Let's hope so. I would love that. But I think they got a better match in them. Still love this match. It was a very good one. And I think they have more to do with this story with each other. And they're both just hard-hitting badasses. So they match up very well. Yota Tsuji in the main event pinned Andrade El Idolo to retain the IWGP men's title. Fantastic match. Very, very good match. It felt like a main event. These two brought the heat. And like I said, they had a world caliber main event title match. Yota Tsuji is not necessarily my favorite of the young guys who seem like they're not the type of guys who seem like he's not necessarily the guy I would pick of the young guys to like start the whole company revolving around. Okay. Like there's other people that I personally gravitate towards a little more, like Iwamura or I can't remember the other fellow's name right now. Oh, I'm on the spot as usual, but I like Yota Tsuji, and it really does look like they're investing in him as the face of the company right now. And they need a face of New Japan right now. So more power to him. He did. So he won this match. He cut a promo in English. I had a hard time understanding him. No fault of his. The mic, honestly, the sound wasn't that great, but they didn't have a direct feed of the mic into the board. So you just heard what was in the arena. But he mentioned AEW a lot in this speech he gave afterwards. And I know he's had some kind of harsh words for AEW at times. And I don't think that helps New Japan. So I don't know what he actually said, but I definitely don't think they need to be talking shit about each other. They are in a partnership. You know what I mean? So I don't know if he was, but let's hope not. Andrade is just crushing it right now. These guys hit a ton of cool shit on each other, and they both look super, super strong. Both of them kicked out of everything. Yoda's had to hit his finisher twice on Andrade, and Andrade kicked out. So they are just crazy, crazy good. And it was awesome to see. So let's see what you guys have to say. Nuclear Vessel X says Busta and the Brain is a GOAT tag team name. I do like it. It's got, the Pinky and the Brain, Pinky and the Brain kind of vibe to it, which I'm sure is the intention. Skewer Universe says the digital media title sounds better than the speed title. I'm going to say something controversial. The actual name speed title is a better sounding title. What it actually means is worse. Like the digital media title is a TV title. That's what it is. The speed title is stupid. It's defended in 5-minute matches. Dumb. So yeah, fuck that. Okay, I got corrected on Yudo Ice there. Skewer Universe. I think New Japan just want to keep gold on talk, but they also know Yota Tsuji's time was now. I agree. Yota Tsuji should have won the world title for sure. That was the right call because, Takeshita just cannot be in All Japan full time. He just can't. His first loyalty is very likely to AEW, and they're probably paying him the most and allowing him to do these things. So, we really need a Gates of Agony tag title run down the line, destroy every team in it, Bab. I agree with you. I absolutely agree. Skewered Universe, once the Bucks and FTR have this match with whichever team walking out as tag champs, Gates of Agony needs to take the tag titles and have a monster run. I was thinking the very same thing, Skewered Universe. That would be perfect. And they've even teased the Gates of Agony, have attacked the Young Bucks a few times. So they have had that simmering in the background somewhere. So I could see that happening. Nuclear Vessel X with a blatant lie. You gravitate towards Shota Umino. No, I do not. Okay, no, I don't. I do not. That is just not true. Sorry, Shooter. Sorry. I don't gravitate to you. But Initbab says the Shotaverse is strong. If you follow Sickos Club, there is a particular thing for Shota that we all love. Fuck You Mama 2 times makes a great point. Stardom has a high-speed title, and it's one of the best matches every card. Yeah, and it's a particular wrestling style. I don't think the matches are 5 minutes long, are they? I don't think that's the case with that title. But yeah, their high-speed title it's presented very well. I believe the speed title started as like it was on Twitter, right? Like those matches were on Twitter, and that was why it was 5 minutes long, blah, blah, blah. So who knows? But we're going to hit the music, and when we come back, we got to talk about the dogs. Okay, well, moving on. Oh, my God. Skewered Universe. That is true. I am a bigger Toru Yano guy over Shota Umino. The thing about Umino is he's a good wrestler. Like, he's very good. He just the natural charisma is not there. And that's just the truth. It's just not there. He's just, he doesn't radiate charisma, and I think his push looked a little Vince McMahon-ish, where it's like too predetermined, like he's going to be the next big star before the crowd has had any say in it. And I think that's part of why the crowd turned on him a little bit, was like it looked too predestined. And he's Red Shoe's son, so there's always going to be the nepotism stuff. It's it's going to be crazy. Oh shit, Too Fat to Cook makes it. I forgot about this. Nope. I'll get to that. But yep, on Twitter, Ricochet was the first champ. He was the first speed champ. So that belt's been around for a couple years now. That's wild. When you don't watch it, it's like so, time is very abstract. Nuclear Vessel X calls Shooter Umino the Austin Theory of New Japan. Dear Lord in heaven. I'll still take Shooter over Austin Theory, but I get where you're coming from. But we got to talk about some exciting things that happened in AEW this week. Principally the appearance of the Dogs. They are All Elite. And this was something that there was some conjecture about, certainly on my part, where I felt like, okay, Clark Connors definitely seemed like he was under contract. Especially after that promo aired on Collision this last weekend, vignette of Clark Connors. It said, All Elite Wrestling and the Dogs. A week before this, they were calling them the War Dogs and calling them New Japan Pro Wrestling Talents. So my guess is March 1st, some contracts expired. I think Finlay's contract expired. I think Gabe Kidd's contract expired, and they could finally actually sign with All Elite Wrestling. Apparently, Finlay was offered a contract by WWE to go to NXT. I think that was his first choice, to go to WWE. His dad works there, but he didn't want to go to NXT first. So he said no, and he got a better offer from AEW financially, which people find so hard to believe. First of all, there's several NXT talents that are on the record saying NXT doesn't pay shit. Okay. Like, especially if you're a nobody, like, and I'm not saying Finlay's a nobody, he's not, but they don't pay well. Okay. A lot of people are struggling to get by just financially, you know, and they're not even touring. They work in Orlando and they live in Orlando, and still they're barely getting by, some of them. So, you know, people who've left say it's not a very glamorous pay structure. So they probably didn't offer him a ton of money, maybe a little better than he was doing in New Japan, but New Japan's not paying super great, guys, especially if you actually live in the States and have to commute to Japan to work. And also, David Finlay's partner is pregnant, and he wanted to be in the States with them so that he could, you know, be a supportive partner. Good for him. So yeah, so he shows up on Dynamite. But yeah, when they started calling them the Dogs, and when that said All Elite Wrestling presents no New Japan anywhere, I was like, so Clark is for sure under contract. I'm going to be honest, okay? I don't love the name the Dogs. It's like, really? Like, could we either come up with just like a better reference to that old gang that they were a part of, or could we just call them something completely different? Do we have to call them the Dogs? No, it's not a good name. Okay. It's like, you know, they don't call like a wrestler the Guy or the Woman. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't have any panache. Okay. But you hear a name enough, it doesn't really matter that much. So I don't love the name, but whatevs. Anyway, Clark Connors and Gabe Kidd were announced as wrestling Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy in a tag match that ended up being really fun, crazy chaotic with some really cool spots. They set up Clark to look absolutely phenomenal. There was at one point he ran up the stairs and speared somebody through a table. That looked awesome, looked just badass as fuck. There was a lot of really high intensity wrestling in this. Darby takes a bump off the top rope and lands. You watch him just hit his fucking head on the ring apron on his way down. How? You know, I know he was tucking his chin, but like, there's no way he didn't hit his fucking head. Like, that's just crazy. That is crazy. And Nuclear Wessel X says they could call themselves Bang Bang Gang, the Dogs. No, absolutely not. Skewer Universe says, what about the Handles of Justice? No. But yeah, so ultimately Clark ends up taking a pin. Gabe's incapacitated. Clark gets double teamed and ganged up on, hit with two finishers, and takes the loss. You know, he's only been there a few weeks and he's taken a couple pins already. Tony Khan has no compunction about doing that, but damn. And so everybody in the match looked fantastic. Orange always looks fantastic. Darby always looks fantastic. And I thought Gabe looked great. And I thought that that Clark looked fantastic. But after that finish, from the crowd comes a man dressed pretty nicely in a suit. And he has some, what appears to be a walking stick of some kind. Maybe it's an Irish walking stick. Maybe it's a shillelagh. And that, my friends, is the story of where David Finlay actually went to after his last appearance for New Japan at New Beginning USA. David Finlay shows up and beats some ass with a shillelagh. Okay. Like, he did not hold back with those shots. They look painful. So, you know, like I said, I was very sure he was leaving at New Beginning. But, you know, after he hit the guys with the shillelagh, I know he's going to be contracted. But after this appearance, it looked like, I to myself was thinking, okay, so Finlay and Clark Connors are going to be full-time, and Gabe will have maybe a dual contract or something, because New Japan has been so invested in Gabe Kidd. But correct me if I'm wrong, chat. Has it been announced that that Gabe Kidd is a dual contract? Because I haven't seen that anywhere. And they announced on all the socials after this, the graphic went up, the dogs are all elite, including Gabe Kidd. That is massive. Absolutely massive. If they're all full-time AEW, that's crazy. Okay. Like I said earlier, I've never been a huge David Finlay, like as charisma vacuum as he can be sometimes. I didn't like the presentation of him in New Japan with Gato. I didn't think it worked. And what I'm hopeful for is in America, he feels a little more comfortable and can maybe get over a little more. It might be a different experience for him. He's a great in-ring competitor. But I have kind of an easy solution to this, which is don't make anybody the leader of this group. They don't need one. They're just kind of all for one for all. And David Finlay's just on the same plane as everybody else, because I think much like Shooter Umino had his push too preordained, I think calling David Finlay the leader might have been the same thing. And it set him up to fail, because you kind of expect just a little more out of the leader. And when you're leader of a group that is formerly led by Finn Balor, aka Prince Devitt, AJ Styles, Kenny Omega, and Jay White, pretty high expectations. I don't know that was exactly the right move. Scareglow. Oh my God. I can't believe I actually said it. Because you're totally right. I do love the name Woman. I thought it really worked. I was thinking of active wrestlers, but yes, the manager Woman, incredible. And yes, she made it work. Absolutely. So thank you, Scareglow. That was a dumb thing of me to say. But yes, you're right. There has been somebody named a Woman, and they were an exceptional manager. Yes, so it absolutely did work. But like I said, I think David Finlay might have an easier time in America. We'll see. Jury's going to be out on that. But the graphic, when I saw it, I was stunned. Could not believe it. Talk about a coup. That Tony Khan really, really pulled something huge. BJ Dixon, HGA in the chat. Hello, my friend. Great to see you in the chat again, as always. Too Fat to Cook with a great point. How does Darby walk after those matches? I have no fucking idea. I don't know. All I can assume is that he doesn't actually need a skull to survive, because the way he landed on that bump was so scary. So like I said, I'm hyped. Okay. I'm hyped about the dogs being there. I know they're going to be different. I already love the way Clark Connors is being presented, as opposed to the way he was presented in New Japan, where I thought he sounded like a teenager who couldn't wait to say the word fuck because his dad walked out of the room. I'm getting a totally different vibe from him here. So I'm hoping for the best. I think TK knows what he's doing. But it begs a question, and I want to ask the chat. One, what do you think of the dogs? What do you think of the name? What do you think of the group being signed? Are you excited? Do you think this is a huge thing, or is it just whatever to you? I want to know. But here's another thing I want to know. Is there too many wrestlers and not enough TV time in AEW? Now, I'm going to read a quote from Dave Meltzer, and he was talking about this on the Wrestling Observer Radio the other day. And this is a quote. This is not me saying it. And the quote has all of the Dave-isms in it. So if I say or speak like I don't know words, that Dave does that sometimes, but I'm just quoting Dave. So he said, he's good, right? He's talking about David Finlay. He says, he's like a really good wrestler. I mean, like better than most technically and everything like that. But the guy, they got so many people. I don't know how they're going to, where they're back to, like, they've signed so many new people this year. They don't have any more TV time, man. Well, I mean, they still don't have enough TV time for these guys to have matches. I mean, you're going to be having a lot of guys having 15 or 18 matches a year. And, if your goal in professional wrestling is to make a lot of money and not work at all or not work much. This is like the greatest time ever to be a pro wrestler in the United States. Like, not even close. Kevin Nash would have loved it. But it's so weird because it's like all of those guys that would love this money. Again, hello, Kevin Nash. And even love more the fact they don't even have to work for it in the sense of that many matches. Unfortunately, when that actually happened in this generation, we have a generation of people who grew up as wrestling fans and they want to go out there and wrestle a lot. So it's like they're making way more money than they ever could have made. And I think that generally speaking, they're probably happy with that. But so many of them are mad because they're not getting enough ring time, which is true. I mean, they're not getting enough ring time. Whew! That was a mouthful. A lot of Dave-isms in there. And, you know, I want to know what y'all think. So, Skewer Universe says Gabe Kidd is signed with AEW, but all I can find about New Japan is he's associated with the promotion and appearing as part of Unbound Company. Yeah, and that's you know, I think they ended the War Dogs and made them part of Unbound Company because all of them were about to leave. Inabab says, seeing David Finlay debut in AEW with the shillelagh in hand reminded me of WWE's typical Irish stereotypes of Finlay Hornswoggle from the mid-2000s. I mean, he's Finlay's child. He's carrying it forward, I guess. Nuclear Wessels with the very controversial opinion that I hesitate to say this, but Dynamite needs to be 3 hours. If anybody could make it work, it is Tony Khan. I agree with you. Tino Ibarra. I feel like TK is trying to beef up the tag team division, but Dogs and Rascals are two teams that could carry the trios titles. Totally. Knowing TK, he'd have them carry them both at the same time. Skewer Universe says, I think the AEW roster and TV time being precious is no different than WWE, but since AEW is still the new kid on the block, they will get the criticism. AEW does try more to get others on TV. And Anabab, what about the supposed third AEW show that was going to take over Rampage? That would be good. Then again, there is ROH for certain wrestlers to prove themselves too. Great points, everybody. I agree with everything everybody said. All right. Here's my take on this. I felt very similarly to Dave at times, and I felt most especially this way in the light of the pandemic releases from WWE, where he was just gobbling up these people that had been released, you know, where he signed Swerve and he signed Keith Lee and he signed all these other people. And then they disappeared for long. They'd sign, they'd make a big debut. Then you wouldn't see them for like a month. And it's like, what the fuck? But in my opinion, since 2024, especially, AEW seems to have developed a system of rotating talent that I feel most of the time works out pretty well. And may also be a sign that, like was said in the chat, that Tony Khan has bigger plans for Ring of Honor and that maybe he's going to be leaning on that a little more. And maybe that's some of the impetus for this studio show revamp, which we're going to talk about a little more later. So I guess what I would say to these younger talents, okay, if they want to work more, they can. Okay. AEW literally has partnerships globally, and the talent have also been allowed to work American indies. Okay. This is not WWE. You are not stuck in their system and you can't go anywhere. Okay. You're not hanging out in catering if you don't want to. I was a working musician for a long time. Okay. And I was not a big deal in the sense that I ever made a ton of money or I had a ton of acclaim or anything, but I didn't expect to play on huge stages until I proved myself at a smaller level. Now, compared to the music industry, the wrestling industry is teeny tiny. Okay. There is far less wrestlers in the world than there is musicians. Okay. So if you're somebody young who's under contract and you're upset that you're not getting on TV enough, go work the indies. Keep working on your craft. If you're there for the love of the game, go work the indies. You're already being paid well. Okay. This would be like being paid by a major label and then complaining that they weren't releasing your record when they were like letting you release records on indies constantly. You know what I mean? So you really have to you have to have experience in front of different kinds of crowds. I think that's people are getting signed at younger and younger ages. I mean, Nick Wayne got signed, debuted when he was 18. Billy Starks was 18. You know, Top Flight was like 20, I believe, 19, something like that. They couldn't legally drink. I know that. You know, Sky Blue, all these people, they debut when they're very, very young. in their careers. And it used to be that you had to work the indies for a long time to even get on somebody's radar. And now these people are being signed at very young ages and being paid reasonably well by AEW so that, yeah, you can go out on the indies. You have nothing to lose except to develop your skills. Don't be stupid and get injured. But, you already make better money than most of the people on the indies. So go get reps, work on developing your character and responding to different types of crowds and feeling out crowds. I mean, there's no doubt that Tony pushes stars and the people who bring in ratings, okay? Tony Storm, Swerve, Hangman, MJF, Mercedes. They're going to be on every episode in a prime spot that Tony can get them on, okay? And you have to. That's how you get the best ratings, right? But those looking to reach that new level, they got to prove that they're worth the risk, and it may not all happen in AEW. The truth is, AEW is a shark tank, and it's by design. When they say where the best wrestle, you are better than the people considered the best if you're actually on TV regularly. Okay. If you're Kenny Omega, you are one of one. If you're Tony Storm, you are one of one. MJF, Hangman, Swerve, Mercedes, Chris Statlander, Willow, these people are on TV all the time because Tony can count on them, to perform at a high level and to bring in interest. So, if you're young in the company and you're trying to get your shot, like don't limit yourself to 15 to 18 matches a year on television in AEW. You better get your ass on the indies and demonstrate that value. You're already being paid well to do it. So just go do it. A good example would have been Abaddon got released, or her contract was allowed to expire sometime back. Their contract was allowed to expire. And a lot of people were bummed that Abaddon wasn't going to stay. And my thought on it was, well, Abaddon barely had any experience when they started. They were pretty green on the indies. And then they worked for AEW for like 5 years, and they were paid to basically learn how to wrestle. Then they went on the indies and have made much more of a name for themselves as they've been out there, and they're getting better at wrestling. Abaddon could come back to AEW at some point. You know what I mean? It's not like it's over just because the contract didn't get picked back up. You got to make yourself essential, because this isn't WWE where they make up their mind about you and they push you no matter what the fans say. If the fans turn against you, you're gone. Chris Jericho makes millions of dollars and has not been on TV for almost a year. You know what I mean? So I think you got to allow for that. And so if you want the best of the best, Tony Khan is giving you the best of the best, but it's not always pretty. Okay. You're swimming in a shark tank. You gotta bring your best shit, and your best shit has to be better than other people's best shit. That's my take on it. Let's see what you guys say. Let's see. Nope. Already read that one. Yeah. In a bad, speaking of catering, Royce Keys. I feel bad for Will Hobbs. I like Will Hobbs a lot. Too Fat to Cook says roster at AEW is treated similar to football. They have backups and talent that rotate out to keep everyone fresh. They also wrestle an extremely physical style that can injure people easily. And so there's a lot of injuries in AEW, and that is the truth. There's a lot of injuries in New Japan too, because they wrestle that strong style. They don't call it strong style because it's a cute name, guys. It's a real thing. So, Skewered Universe, AEW allows their talent to work elsewhere, so the complaints about not working or getting ring time seems like a very New York state of mind, if you catch my drift. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. The Scare Glow, if it's where the best wrestle, they compete for the best spots. Ring of Honor is probably going to get a TV deal, and working all around the world makes wrestling feel epic again. Totally agree. Totally agree. And, if you're not getting the time, see if you can get a Stardom tour. See if you can get some time over in, TJPW. It's not like they haven't let people work outside of the traditional partnership that they've set up too. So come on, Skewered Universe said Swerve wasn't always on TV until he stepped up and proved why he was worthy of the time and the top title. Absolutely. Absolutely. And yes, adding that I wish AEW Dark was still around. Me too. Because, I think there was an attraction to dark because you could see the people that weren't on the shows all the time. They still got some exposure somewhere. Athena basically created her current character on dark, because her and Jody Threat just went for it on that show and wrestled a stiff ass fucking match. Too Fat to Cook says third show streaming only. I could see that. Absolutely. In a Bab. Exactly, Blay. We could see Abaddon return to AEW again in the future with the gained experience from the indies. I honestly hope to see it. Very possibly. Very possibly. BJ Dixon, HGA, prediction for Brody versus Swerve. Who wins? I got Swerve. I do have a prediction, but I have a whole Revolution section we're going to be talking about, so I'll get to it. You'll hear it, but I'll share it there. Kurt Jangle. Nice to see you, my friend. The Shark Tank vibe is what actually made the Attitude Era so electric, but some people don't want to hear that. Absolutely. Okay? Like, look, the entertainment business is not pretty at all. Zero. Okay? It's people politicking. It's people trying to get the best for them. When they call wrestlers politicians and shit, I'm like, duh. Like, they're on TV. They're trying to be featured on television. Of course they're politicking. They're going to do whatever it takes. You know what I mean? So I think that there is a misconception, or somehow the terms are different for wrestlers. They're television stars. At the end of the day, wrestlers are television stars. Okay, they are not something else besides that. They're maybe not traditional actors. They're maybe not traditional athletes, but they are both of those things, and they are featured on television every week. They do acting, they do athletics, and they have to do both at the same time. They are television stars. You put your stars on the show. You never hear somebody going, whatever, terrible example, Red Foreman on that 70 show. They need to get Red off the show and give somebody else a try. Give somebody younger a try. That wouldn't make any sense, right? Because it's a TV show. It's cast. Well, so is AEW. So is WWE. So is every televised wrestling promotion. So something to think about. Just tossing that out there. But yeah. So is there too many wrestlers and not enough TV time, or is it simply you better be at your best, or you just ain't getting on TV, friendo? Where's Camille? You know what I mean? These people are still under contract, and Tony Khan is like, yep, didn't work out. See ya. Okay. But another place, and I just said, I think there was maybe a bigger plan for this place. Ring of Honor made its studio debut yesterday. As we tape this, Fabe K and I watched the premiere episode of the studio era together on FaceTime. And I got to say, okay. So one, this is not worth making a huge deal about. Okay. It was their first attempt at this. And I did have somebody say, and I've seen a lot of people say it, that the end goal is Daly's place, but it's under being renovated right now. So this is a temporary situation, that this is like an NPR TV studio, and they're borrowing it, basically. There's some problems. They didn't have a lot of people in there. To me, it looked like maybe 50 people, and like half of them were the crew. Okay. You could see the cameras everywhere. It felt very much like you're watching a production of pro wrestling as it's being produced. And I don't think that's probably what you want. There's a giant white screen behind the ring where the hard cam is located. Doesn't look great. Okay. That's probably why the hard cam is where it is. I doubt they can move the giant white screen, but maybe they can cover it or something, So something to think about. But yeah, it's definitely could use some work. So let's hope they do that work. But I think that, Tony Khan he listens. Number one, I saw a lot of people talking about this on social media, and Tony Khan is not somebody who needs his ass kissed all the time. He does listen. He wants to improve his product as much as he possibly can. I suspect, there's going to be, I think, another 3 episodes that were taped at this same time. So, So yeah, so we're gonna need to get that sorted. But I think by the time they tape the next batch, it will be to some degree. I would love to see them experiment with different camera angles. I would love to see them experiment with different production techniques to make Ring of Honor visually different than AEW. I've said this before, and I think it would be a great idea to present it differently somehow. But I'm a huge fan of studio wrestling, okay? And my friend Troubles brought this up on Threads. He said, it looked to me like old Memphis wrestling, studio wrestling, and he's 100% right. It does. It looks like old studio wrestling, super badass in that regard. So I don't think it was like the end of the world by any stretch. Once the wrestling got started, the matches were so good. Okada made a fucking surprise appearance defending his belt against AR Fox. If you're one of those 50 people and Okada walks out, like, how lucky are you? And he's not just fighting like a nobody. He's fighting AR Fox. Okay. That was fucking rad. So that was really cool. Really cool way to end the show. Also, I love that 4-leaf clover match. So they had a 4-way elimination match. I'm a huge fan of elimination matches. Okay. It's like my favorite thing is elimination matches. If you're going to do a multi-man match like that, I love the old Survivor Series style matches. It sucks that like they've kind of replaced the whole format with war games. But I love elimination matches for whatever reason, because there's all kinds of strategy that gets introduced as people get eliminated, and I like it if it's done well. So it's Shane Taylor, it's AR Fox, it's Daddy Magic, and it was somebody in the chat. Tell me who the other person was, please. So basically, AR Fox wins that match. Spoiler. Okay, if you're listening to the show, I assume you listen to wrestling podcasts, and spoilers are nothing new. But I'm going to tell you what happened on the shows that I'm talking about. So, AR Fox wins the match. He manages to sneak a pin in at the very end. And I don't even remember on who now, but he does win. And Okada immediately comes out. So the provision was a 4-way elimination match, and the winner will open a box and draw. They will face a champion from somewhere defending some kind of title. They didn't say it was an ROH title. They didn't say it was an AEW title. It could have been the CMLL title. It could have been the, any, it could have been one of those New Japan Strong titles, but it was Okada defending the what is that called? The international title. And so Okada comes out, they have a match. Okada wins. Super fun. It was just, what a cool surprise. I loved it. So very cool stuff. ROH is going to figure this stuff out. The wrestling itself was great. Like I said, I didn't really care about any of the production stuff when it was over. All right. Can we talk for a minute about the weird ass reaction to Kevin Knight in El Paso? Dynamite kicks off with a fucking banger match between Kevin Knight challenging MJF for the men's world heavyweight title. Okay. I was so looking forward to this match. This could have been the main event, if they wanted it to be. And the crowd kept booing Kevin Knight, and I couldn't figure out why. Like, why would you boo Kevin Knight? Like, everybody knows he's a babyface. I will say it was a very pro MJF crowd. They were chanting for MJF. They were even doing the "he's our scumbag" thing. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's not our scumbag anymore. That's not his deal. So yeah, they ended up getting in, kind of this weird thing where, Kevin Knight is being booed when he's supposed to be being cheered. And I'm getting pissed because I'm like, you get to see this match, you assholes. Why would you boo this man? And then later in the show, I noticed, Brody King's out here, and this is the first town not to chant "fuck ice." Wonder if there was something more to those Kevin Knight issues. El Paso, don't let me down. I hope that's not what it was. I really hope not. Because this guy's a fucking future main eventer. They're telling you that with the way he's being booked right now. Okay. He's kind of leapfrogging Jet Speed in a lot of ways. And Speedball is almost like the vet helping him get to the next level at this point. So yeah. Don't be assholes though. Not to Kevin Knight. He's the fucking man. Let's read some comments here. Nuclear Vessel X. It was a small venue and the ring was where the seats were. Small venue that accommodates 350 normally. Yeah. So, agreed. Nuclear Vessel X. I agree. I think that, it was a small venue. I thought where that big white screen is, one of the things that could maybe change the perception a little bit, it looked like they had some room behind them, more room than they had on some of the other sides. And I think it would be cool to put some bleachers back there like the ECW arena did. I am a masochist, so I watch 1993 ECW. I watched every episode of it recently because I am a fan of pain, okay, and suffering, all right? So I saw how the ECW arena slowly morphs from looking very, very pedestrian and plain to they're slowly adding, bleachers, they're adding more lighting, they're adding all that stuff. Ring of Honor had the lighting, they had the production value as far as that goes. They had the picture looked good. Some people were saying they didn't like the camera angles. I'm not sure about that, but, and some people thought it should have stayed on the static cam. I don't think so personally. They just need to find a way to get more people in with the camera. They need to get more people in that building and they need to get more people. I will say this was very much on the low that they were doing this taping. And so I'm really not sure that they told very many people about this before the event happened. I'm not sure how many tickets they made available to people, but they are going to be taping in Jacksonville from now on. So, yes. Bo says El Paso is a place. Very much the case. Too Fat to Cook says morons. I felt the same way. Yeah, I felt the same way. Skewered Universe says, I haven't seen that episode yet, but sounds very odd. Yeah, it was very odd, Skewered. Was the El Paso crowd just full of racist pricks is a question from Skewered. I'm not saying that. I don't know for sure that was the case. I just, those two things happened to coincide. It's kind of an interesting observation. In a Bab, I didn't understand the booing toward Kevin Knight at all. Very odd. Yeah. What's the deal? Like, did he come out and badmouth the local high school football team or something? I know they're all about high school football that in those parts. Tino Ibarra, someone tried to get the chant started when Don was out, but you couldn't really hear it. No excuse for the reaction to Kevin Knight, though. Glad we're on the same page, fam. Tino Ibarra said the fuck eyes chant is what was getting, people were trying to start it. Yeah, it just didn't seem like there were a lot of people in the crowd who wanted to continue. So, yeah. So, Skier Universe says watching 93 ECW is the only way you can feel anything. LOL. I kid. No, it's true. Okay. Like, I don't do drugs or drink. Okay. So when I want to feel something, man, I watch 93 ECW and just cry and try to pretend that I find Rockin' Rebel to be a satisfying guy who should be close to the main event. Last point, the Birds, the Brawling Birds. Fuck yeah. Okay. Jamie Hayter and Alex Windsor. I am loving them as a tag team. Their attitude, the gimmick, the just like, fuck yeah, let's have a drink and go beat the shit out of some people was awesome. And they had a match against the IInspiration making their debut. And a lot of people found out that Harley Cameron sings the IInspiration's music for the first time watching that show. The IInspiration got absolutely massacred. I mean, it was a full-on squash. Wasn't even close. Okay. There was no competition in any of this. There was just a lot of them getting their ass beat. What I loved was the IInspiration's reactions to everything that was happening, right? So they come out kind of arrogantly acting like They're kind of big shots, bigger than everybody else. And at one point, they're back-to-back in the ring after they've been getting their ass kicked for a few minutes. And each of them is looking over the other one's shoulder and realizes that Jamie Hayter and Alex Windsor are in the opposite corners waiting to run at them. And it was the little stuff like this. They're like, oh, shit, we're about to get smashed. And then they get smashed, and then they just get beat. They do a heart attack from one Inspiration member onto the other, and they pin them both. It's a mauling, okay? And you know what? It was good for the Inspiration, because the Inspiration are not your work rate heroes, okay? Not everybody can be, and not everybody should be, in my opinion, okay? They are characters. They are the over-the-top personalities that every wrestling promotion needs. They're fantastic on the mic, and their ability is far exceeded by their mouths, and that's going to be their characters. Obviously, they're going to be heels. So this was a perfect debut for some heels to then go and find a way of cheating to start winning matches. And it made the Brawling Birds look like your Legion of Doom style, Road Warrior style killers. They lost nothing, obviously. They only gained. And it sets the Inspiration up to go and be very entertaining and very insufferable all at once. So I actually thought it was a great debut for them. I can't wait to see where it goes next, whether there's a backstage segment on Collision or whether there is something more that comes on Dynamite. You know, Harley Cameron's going to get dragged into this eventually somehow. You can't hear her sing that song and think that she's not going to eventually end up wrapped up with them. So we're going to hit some music. When we come back, folks, we are going to talk about Revolution, AEW's Revolution, and what we know so far and how everything's coming together. Stick with it. Woo! Thank you, guys. You're giving me so much to riff on. This is a lot of fun. Scareglow says, I'm a punk rock guy and believe wrestling is for everyone. I was questioning that crowd too. Glad I'm not the only one. You're with a bunch of punk rockers, my friend. I mean, I'm the same way. I came up in punk rock as well. And, I believe my friend Tino did. A lot of us did. Kurt Jangle, a lot of us did. Kurt Jangle, by the way, folks, if you don't know, when you hear the beginning of this show and it says Sickos Club, that's Kurt Jangle. That's his voice. He is the voice of the Sickos Club. All right, we're back and we got some chats coming in from everybody. BJ Dixon says, as a Kevin Knight guy, I was upset for him. Skewer Universe says the Brawling Birds are such a great tag team. Hard drinking, hard hitting women. Totally. It vaguely reminds me of the Sheamus Drew McIntyre team that they had for a while, when they called them the Bang Bros for a minute. And then they had to walk that way back because it's the name of a porno company. The Scareglow says the Inspiration is going to turn this into gold. I totally agree. They are. They will. They're incredible. Kurt Jangle, the Brawling Birds are what the dumbasses try to do with the Brawling Brutes. The difference is that the Birds are over. Yeah, the dub. Yes. So, yeah, I think it was a great way to introduce the Inspiration because it will be fascinating to watch as they try to keep up in AEW. If anything, it kind of shows like, hey, AEW is vastly superior to wherever you've been before. So you're going to have to find some other way to win or level up, one or the other. It works on a lot of levels. You know what I mean? Skewer Universe, you need a team like the Inspiration who are great on the mic, but will also give you those moments in the ring that are hilarious and memorable. Goddamn right. Inabab cleverly says, Brawling Birds beating Birds. Love to see it. Winza and Hayter are such a well-matched tag team. Hope they keep smashing other teams and have a jolly great time doing so. Absolutely. Okay. So like I said it last week, I think in a lot of ways right now, the AEW women's tag team division is just as interesting, if not more, than the men's AEW tag team division, because there's more teams being assembled to make a serious run at those titles, and they're making those tag titles feel important, which I think was everybody's biggest concern before they were formally won by the Babes of Wrath. Is will these belts matter in 6 months? And the answer is yes. So very happy for them. The women's division is so good, but it is time to move on. We are going to talk all about AEW Revolution. Actually, first, we're going to talk about our shop. Okay. Make sure, if you haven't, that you go to sickosclub.com/shop. You can buy a sit down, shut up, mark out t-shirt there. You can buy our vast array of Sickos Club shirts there. If you're listening to the show, you're part of the club, guys. So if you love the Sicko shit, make sure to check out sickosclub.com/shop. We are always working on new ideas for merch. This Yokozuna tribute that may or may not be Yokozuna tribute, I don't know, that Professor Degree made will soon be a logo for the podcast, and will also be on a shirt, hopefully, if we don't get cease and desist. And we make the soft shirts, Nuclear Wessels X. I'm glad you noticed, because we do make our t-shirts the very soft kind. Okay. They're stretchy. They're very comfy. And we have, pro wrestling, anti-fascism t-shirts. We don't hold what we think back. We tell it like we see it, and we are for everybody. Wrestling is for everybody. Let the world know you are a sicko. Go to sickosclub.com/shop and get yours today. Yes. So let me just give a little tip to y'all. Trying to start a merchandise element to your company during the very opening months of Donald Trump's presidency. Super smart. I'm glad we did that. That was really smart on our part. So I get it. If you don't got the funds, I totally get it. Okay. But it is a way you can support us directly. Those proceeds are reinvested back into Sickos Club. And it's not just me. It's Neon Ghost. It's Brett Michelle. It's Joshi G. And it's Professor Degree. He is the newest member of the board, so to speak. And all of us are investing a lot of time into trying to just make Sickos Club a very cool experience for everybody who's a part of it. So thank you all for your support so far. But now we'll move to AEW Revolution. And the card is looking very good from where I sit. I'm curious to know how you all feel in the chat. Let me know. But we're going to go through what we know so far, bit by bit. The main event looks to be MJF versus Hangman Page in an AEW Men's World Title match, Texas Death Match. They've done a lot to add intrigue to this. Some people think because it's Texas Death and because of the stipulation that Hanger won't challenge for the Men's World Title again if he loses, that it's very obvious that he's winning. I don't think so. Okay. MJF has a habit. He's been involved in both the times this stipulation was used. Okay. He threw the towel in and cost Cody his ability to ever challenge for the Men's World Title. Okay. Now he's defending against Hangman. But I think the X factor in this match is Swerve Strickland. Okay. We saw what he did to Kenny. We saw what he did to Brody on Dynamite. We'll talk more about that in just a bit. Do we see him just seeing this as a business move and going, hey, I can eliminate one person who might be in my way. If I just make sure Hangman can never challenge for the world title, I'll take it off MJF and Hangman will never be able to challenge me. I mean, it kind of makes sense if you're anybody almost. If you really want that title, it kind of makes sense. So could they cost Hanger that opportunity? Could somehow Will Ospreay and his return factor into this? Who's to say? But I low-key think MJF is doing some of the best work of his career right now. He's always been a great wrestler, right? He's a fantastic wrestler. But I think him working as a heel champion, man, he's just doing a masterful job. He did such a great job with Bandido. He did such a great job with Brody. And this week, with a very tough crowd, he's trying to get Kevin Knight over as a top, up-and-coming top babyface, okay? And these El Paso people are booing him. MJF worked his ass off to get the crowd to boo him, and they eventually did after chanting, he's our scumbag, okay? And they started cheering for Kevin Knight. Now, part of that is Kevin Knight is just impossible to boo once you see the shit he does, right? That clothesline over the top rope to the outside, fucking crazy, all right? That was fucking wild business. But MJF's done a great job doing story stuff with each of his opponents without it becoming, misogynistic, without it, really borderline kind of racial stuff that he had said about in some of his prior promos years ago. The stuff that I complained about and other people complained about it, MJF, he's really dropped that from the act. And I think the act is much stronger because of it, honestly. So 8-Bit Bruchet's with us. Hey, bud, how's it going? Got the gold and vascular ones too. Hat and flag that I got TK to sign too. I'm such a mark. You got a TK signed Sickos Club hat? Holy shit. 8-Bit Bruchet. God damn. Got to take a picture of that. Holy shit. Inabab says he has an OG Sickos Club black and white t-shirt of Tony Khan as the Bullet Club in the Bullet Club style. The quality is fantastic. Thank you, Inabab. That was the genesis of this entire thing, was Neon Ghost creating that design. Okay. We were all friends on Threads, and one by one, we all started asking, do you guys want to work together? What about you guys? You want to work together? And we all said yes. We all came together. The rest is history. Some of my very best friends in the entire world are Sickos Club. So you all, thank you so much. Security Universe agrees that MJF is doing some of the best work of his career right now. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion one way or the other. I don't think they've done a good job of inserting a lot of doubt into the outcome of the match. As far as I go, it doesn't feel predictable to me. It feels like it could go either way. I'm scared either way. I'm going to be clenching so goddamn hard because part of me does genuinely think it could be bad for Hangman not to be able to challenge for the title. Like, they may lose some actual fans over that. Like, even if it's a tease for a short time, they could lose people over that. I don't want to see that happen. Hanger being the face of the company in a lot of ways is what AEW is built on. So I'd much rather Hangman win than them risk losing, but I would respect it if they were willing to take the risk at the same time. You can only do great things if you're willing to take a risk every now and then. This would be a pretty big risk, in my opinion, because we saw how pissed off people were just that Hanger lost the title to Samoa Joe. Imagine if he couldn't even challenge again and he got stuck with the Cody stipulation. Oh my God. However, I do trust that they would have a story and that Hanger would have a long-term arc to tell with that story. So we'll see. Dresden Shuffle says, I'm hoping Swerve interferes and costs Hangman. I think it's a distinct possibility. I am loving what the work Swerve's doing right now. This guy feels like the center of the show again, all of a sudden, and people are going to cheer him anyway, no matter what kind of fiendish shit he does. He burned a man. He broke into a man's house and menaced his child, and we cheered for him. In Seattle, we booed Hangman. Like, we were the first people to boo Hangman. And, it's fucking incredible. But another thing that I am very just kind of blown away by, the Don Callis family finally getting a big win as a unit. I'm a huge fan of the DCF, but too often these guys are portrayed as geeks. The Death Riders have basically made everyone not named Okada, Takeshita, Fletcher, or Andrade. They beat them every fucking week, it feels like. How can we even say they're feuding? Because they lose all the time. But it was cool to see them pull a fast one and win the trios titles from Jet Set Rodeo. Kevin Knight had already had his incredible match with MJF. Hangman had already wrestled. And Don Callis used their own words against them. They said on Collision, challenge us anytime, anywhere. So Callis challenges them for the main event of the show they're on after Kevin Knight's already wrestled. And after Hangman's wrestled, even though Hangman kind of just murked the guy that he was working. And they kind of had to agree or look like they didn't mean what they said, right? But then it gets announced that, and so Okada and Fletcher and Davis end up defeating Jet Set Rodeo for the trios titles. I like it, okay? I like the trios titles moving around a lot. They don't need to be precious. We don't need to be precious with the trios titles. Like, if you're trios champs for like 3 months, that's like a long time. That's like a 1-year world title reign. You know what I mean? Because like the trios titles should be defended a lot. It's an easy way to have a title match on a show. I don't want them changing hands every time they're defended, but you don't need to have a lot of long title reigns. The Ops had them for like 6 or 8 months, but I think they only defended them like twice. And I would like to see that change. So I call this trios team Mark Protocata. And they are going to defend those trios titles versus Mystico and Jet Speed for the trios titles at Revolution. I'm a big fan that this match is made. It's going to be a great match. I do have some mixed feelings, and this is where the double champ thing starts to become a bit of an issue. Because they're the trios champs, they're not going to be defending the international title or the TNT title. Those are two really critical titles in AEW that aren't going to be defended on the pay-per-view as best I can tell. Yeah, I don't think I like that part so much. I don't, with a roster this big, I just don't see why you have to do the double champ thing so much. Tony does it a lot. Somebody brought up earlier in the chat, All Japan used to do the double champ thing a lot. You're right. I know. A lot of promotions did. I have realized that at the beginning of the year, I said I wasn't going to bitch about it anymore, and I'm kind of finding my way back to bitching about it because it is limiting opportunities, I think, a little bit. But what a lot of people felt should have been the main event of Dynamite was Tekla defending the AEW Women's World title against Thunder Rosa. This match fucked. It was so good. Tekla is unbelievable. Just absolutely unbelievable. Thunder Rosa looked great. She's looked very good since she's come back. A lot of people felt it should have gone on last. It's hard to disagree. Okay, I'm not saying it shouldn't have or should have. I was fine with the show the way it was presented. However, Tekla's athleticism is insane. You know, when Thunder Rosa goes to clothesline her and she does the backwards thing and does the spider crawl from that and then hits a spear, that's insane. That's insane. That is crazy shit. And, and then she beats her clean, brutally beats Thunder Rosa clean. I mean, that was vicious. That was a vicious, vicious finish. And I thought it was a fantastic match. And then the Triangle of Madness starts laying the beat down on Thunder after the match, and Chris Statlander runs down to make the save. I hate to say I told you so, but I've been talking that I thought that Chris Statlander and Tekla were the match for Revolution, and they are the match for Revolution. Statlander cuts an after-show promo where she says she wants Tekla again, but she wants her twice. So they're going to be wrestling for the AEW Women's World title in a 2-out-of-3 falls match. Now, this is a match I could see going either way, okay? Maybe Tekla's the hill to climb for Stat, and they thought that would be more interesting to have her drop the title and get it back. But I don't like that for Tekla. I don't like the idea of her being champ for like 3 weeks. She's just getting started, and this crowd is very into her. And one thing you got to acknowledge is that the first match that Stat and Tekla wrestled, the crowd was chanting for Tekla a lot. Okay, I love Chris Statlander, but Tekla's just on fire, and the crowd wants Tekla. So I think you should go with Tekla. But again, I don't know which way to call it. If I were to guess, I'd say Tekla. But goddamn, it's been really, really interesting. We also have FTR versus the Young Bucks for the AEW tag titles. Now, I'm truly lost as to why anyone is complaining about getting this match. We just had Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe wrestle 7 times in 1 year. Okay. FTR and the Bucks, I believe, have had 4 in 5 years, 6 years. Okay. Like, even if it's 5, who cares? That's less than 1 match a year, you know? And these are the 2 foundational teams of AEW that this entire division derives from. I think people are kind of more like dismayed that the tag division hasn't really grown beyond them, even though I can see where they are creating that growth. I think the real, maybe fundamental gripe some people online have is that the Bucks and FTR are still the teams that everything revolves around. I don't think that's because these teams insist on that. I think Tony hasn't been focused on growing the tag division, especially once they lost to the Lucha Bros. And, Best Friends kind of, Chuck retired and they were no longer a team. Santana and Ortiz, obviously split up. when Santana left. So they've had a lot of loss. Private Party kind of got their like show me you're worth it kind of title run, and it didn't work, and they were punked and lost. So I love the Bucks and FTR. I think every match they've had has been very good, and this one feels like more of a real program to me because they got involved with the family stuff, and so there's more personal issues this time. FTR pile driving Malachi Buck certainly was a move. And I'm very interested to see how that plays into things. Threatening the dad, threatening the mom, I think it's interesting. And FTR even attacked Brandon Cutler this last week, for fuck's sake. So I think the Bucks are going to win. And I still think it will have something to do with Cope and Christian returning. I don't think these teams are going to fight long. I don't think they're going to be in some kind of long-term program. From where I sit, it's kind of like chill the fuck out, everybody. Like, these are the two defining teams of this era of pro wrestling in America at the very least, but probably anywhere, So come on. Let's see. Dresden Shuffle says Tekla needs to beat Stat Clean so her reign starts off strong. I can see it. Skewery Universe and In a Bad both say Swerve's the fucking man. And yeah, Dresden Shuffle said he hopes that Swerve interferes and costs Hangman. It would certainly create some interesting shit, right? Certainly create some interesting stuff. So we'll see. We'll see about that. But I think that FTR and Young Bucks match is going to be fucking fire. Nuclear Wesselak said Revolution is an epic card, but not as good as last year's. I can see where you're coming from. I think the marquee value is maybe not as strong, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's just as good in the ring. By the time we actually see it, I think it could be just as good. Next match I have here, Jon Moxley versus Konosuke Takeshita for the Continental title. No time limit. I'm just going to say it. I don't think this match has actually been built very well. Jon Moxley's done a good job of making the Continental title feel important in a way that it never has before. But it really feels like there's so much stalling going on to get to Okada and Takeshita. And this match is like a little bump in the road on your way to that match. Of course, the match is going to be good, What I'd like to see, though, is some genuine character development for Konosuke Takeshita. Like, who is this guy right now? We know he hates Okada. Yes. We know he's a ruthless killer. Okay. He's been portrayed that way for a long time. They've hinted that he's kind of over Don, but like, okay. So what are his principles? How do they differ from Don and Okada? We don't really ever hear that. You know what I mean? And I know Okada or Takeshita has the range to offer that. So yes, I want them to get to Takeshita and Okada, but I really think Takeshita has to win this match. I'm not entirely convinced he will. Mox is a made man literally forever. Okay. He never needs to hold another title again. He could literally lose every match from here till the end of his career and still be one of the greatest ever. Okay. It would be dumb, in my opinion, for him to beat Konosuke Takeshita. And this is maybe the one result on the show I'd be like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Because I don't see it. I don't see it. So I want Takeshita to win. I'm not convinced he will. But the lead up to this has left some to be desired. And I think this is one of those matches that maybe doesn't feel as special as it should yet because the build has been a little underwhelming, in my opinion. The Scareglow says, I have zero problem with the Bucks versus FTR. It's going to be incredible. I'd like to see Tekla keep going. She has it all. Totally agree. Next match. And this is for my friend BJ Dixon. Swerve Strickland versus Brody King. This is a huge match for Brody. Okay. It shows that Tony Khan clearly sees star potential in him. Like, you're not even in a match with Swerve at all if Tony sees nothing in you. And he's not just squashing you at the very least. That's not going to happen. We all know that's not going to happen. But Swerve pulled some serious heel bullshit by attacking Brody from behind with a chain this week. and then choking the living fuck out of him. It was very intense and very heelish. Swerve cut a good promo. And I got to say it, guys, Swerve's looking like the guy again. He is looking like the straw that stirs the drink. You know what I mean? Like Swerve is looking like the guy you got to be paying attention to. So as it relates to how I predict this match going, do we think there's any chance that Kenny Omega makes an appearance and costs Swerve the match in Brody's hometown? So Brody gets a big win in Los Angeles. Is there any chance of that happening? I think there is. And also, as Brody had been throttled, mercilessly by Swerve, who was choking him on the ropes for minutes. I mean, minutes. This guy either could barely breathe or not breathe at all. Bandido ran down to help Brody and came kind of face to face with Swerve almost for a minute. That was interesting. Could Bandido be a factor in this match? Who knows? But I got to say, I am really looking forward to this match. I think the more likely winner is Swerve, but I could see a scenario under which Brody wins. So we'll see. And then finally, Bandido versus Andrade El Idolo. What the fuck? Tony Khan, you sick bastard. You sick motherfucker. You do it for the sickos because you are a sicko, my friend. This is a match where it's a dream match, but I hadn't even had time to have that dream before Tony made the fucking match. You know what I mean? And I think this could easily steal the show. I think it's right for the picking right there. Andrade's looked as good as he's ever looked right now, both in appearance and in the ring. Bandido was the wrestler of the year last year, in my opinion. This is going to be incredible. I think it's the match I'm actually most looking forward to, and it's one of the only matches that isn't for a title. So they did a backstage segment with these two this week, and it was a bit awkward, but also very notable in a good segment, because both guys did the segment in English with no one else speaking for them. There's no fucking Alex Abrahantes anywhere. That shouldn't seem like such a big deal, but it is novel in AEW and in wrestling in general. Okay. Andrade, I remember his first run with AEW. He tried to do some promos in English, and people on Twitter just like, what did he even say? Andrade has improved his English, certainly. I think they should be able to cut English or Spanish promos if they're more comfortable doing that. But I thought it was very interesting that they both cut promos without somebody doing any of the heavy lifting for him. Bandido told Andrade he's been watching his matches forever. And Andrade very arrogantly blows him off and said, "Bandido, are you a fan? Or do you want to take a selfie?" And Bandido just looks kind of like, oh, man, this dude I look up to is being a dick. And Andrade just kind of big leagued him. And what did he make him look like? He made him look like a fan. I can't wait for this. So to me, Revolution looks very strong. I think it's going to be a good show. I think we're going to get our money's worth, no question. And there's some big moments here that could make or, will tell the story of where we're going with a lot of stuff. Will Ospreay might come back. Hangman Page might never be able to challenge for the world title again. Hangman Page might be the world champion after this. There's a whole bunch of things that could happen. And I'm not sure if they will or not, but I'm very excited to see the outcomes. I'm going to read some chats here, and then I'm going to head out because I've almost completely blown out my voice. I have never done a solo show that has lasted this long. You guys have made this so easy and so fun. Thank you so much. If you're listening to this and you're not a part of the live stream, I encourage you, Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, we do Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out live with everybody in the chat. You can come be part of it. I hope you will next week. Okay. Because next week we're doing an episode on Friday. No. Next week we're doing an episode on Thursday. I believe Books and Body Slams will be rejoining me. We are going to be previewing Revolution. I'm going to try and get Antoine Raphael also to join us. And then on Monday, we're going to record a review of the show with Kay, who will be live on the spot at Revolution to give us the live review of the show. we will have Professor Degree, myself, and Kay, and that will be episode 100. So if you got ideas for how we can celebrate episode 100, because you guys are the ones who made it possible, please let me know. But please make sure you follow us on social medias. Like I said, we're still doing the Sickies. The second half of those awards are live for another week. So make sure you're following Sickos Club on Blue Sky, Instagram, and or Threads. Make sure you follow Sit Down, Shut Up on wherever you get podcasts. Make sure you follow us on social media. Until then, I'm Blade Daly. Pro wrestling forever. All right. You guys, this was awesome. Inabab says, I can absolutely see an Omega return at Revolution to put off Swerve and gift Brody the win. I agree. I can see it. Andrade versus Bandido is a wet dream match, Skewered Universe says. Yes, it is. Too Fat to Cook says, love when wrestlers use their native language. I do too. I think it's great. They did that a few times earlier in AEW's inception. You know, I know Andrade cut one, and cut a few of them in Spanish. And I think a few Japanese wrestlers did as well. So they can do it. Inabab, I am so excited for Andrade versus Bandido. Honestly, think it could be match of the night. They've got their work cut out for him. Everybody else, you guys got your work cut out for you, but I think they're all up to the task. So we'll see. Thank you so much, Skewered. You're fucking killing it, Blade. Proud of you, buddy. Thank you very much. The Scare Glow. If the Brody King versus Swerve match is dangerous enough, Brody could win without making Swerve look weak. If anybody can do it, AEW can, then run it back and heighten the stakes. Couldn't agree more. Totally agree. And again, you have that Kenny thing lingering in the background. You know he's coming back sometime very soon. Inabab, 2023 was a bit meh overall, but AEW has generally been much better since then, and the pay-per-views are always the best. Revolution's going to be fantastic. Kaylee Metz, so excited. So am I. Nuclear Westlax, much love. Much love to you all. Skewer Universe, last comment here says, Takesha's cut promos in Japanese, and while I may not have understood the words, I got the intent. Totally agree. And they can subtitle, pre-tapes and stuff. I think Takesha with him, it's just like the New Japan documentary that they made about him right before the G1 last year, before the G1 finals last year. Do something like that, with Takesha on the YouTube, on the U of the tube. Do it. Let us see who this guy is a little more. That's all. Make him likable. Make him somebody the fans want to get behind. They already do want to get behind him. But man, they got to get to this Okada thing. And I hope they do it at Dynasty because I'm going to that show. So, all right, you guys, I love you all. Thank you so much. You're the very, very best. Have a great weekend. The show will be out tomorrow. But right now, I'm going to chill for a little bit. Then I'm going to watch some CMLL. Encourage you to watch some women's wrestling. Go watch Eve. Go watch something. But support women's wrestling. Talk to you later.